Hey, what's up, Ward Wrestling Live, Wrestling Nation? Thank you so much. We have another amazing wrestler, MMA fighter, hopefully future fucking badass in our country. And he's here with us today. He was a Florida high school state wrestling champ out of Sarasota. He was an all-class champion, which is best in state. He was a four-time All-American in high school. Now he's the FCFF welterweight champion. He was a two-stripe blue belt at his last gym. He's doing some other stuff now, and he's undefeated as a pro. And he's with us today. So Tobias Baker, man, what's happening?
Oh, man, it is awesome. I totally forgot to tell you, I do have one loss.
Oh,
as a pro. I lost my last fight back in November due to rear naked choke. But it's all right.
Yeah, of course it's all right. Yeah, I haven't. We've seen undefeated boxers, but I've yet to see somebody end their career as an MMA undefeated fighter. And
right.
I know there's some undefeated guys out there right now at the highest level, but at some point in their career, they lost.
We'll see.
Yeah. So I know the guy. What was his? What do they call him? Snoozeman. He was grabbing.
Marty. It's Marty Fake Newsman.
Yeah, he was hanging on for. He was just holding him the whole fight. So I'd love to see. They're talking about St. Pierre coming back and fighting him. I'd like to see that.
I actually read a quote from St. Pierre talking about how he's going to stay retired, just because he's seen too many guys. Guys like BJ, guys like even I think it was even like Matt Hughes, and the guys that come back after being retired, and they just don't look the same, and then obviously don't. Well, yeah.
No good there, right?
Right.
Well, that's awesome. Well, first of all, I know you're not wrestling, you're doing MMA, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, all that kind of stuff to prepare yourself. You're a pro now, just been signed by a big company there. So congratulations to you. But first of all, on the MMA scene, how has the coronavirus kind of affected how you guys train, or how you're not off season, but I guess between training camps? How does it affect you guys?
Man, it has been a whirlwind, that's for sure. One thing that I can say for sure is it just impacts the gym financially, because when you don't have your regular members coming in and helping that gym flow and helping the lights stay on and stuff like that. But we've seen so many gyms close down, but luckily we have such a strong sense of community at American Top Team. They've really banded together and have been pushing through and everything. So I'm just happy to be a part of it. But I mean, when it comes to training, I don't think much has changed for me. I stuck to my routine throughout the whole pandemic. I still was working out 2-3 times a day, still, hitting pads and wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. All at different, areas and locations and stuff, because obviously we couldn't be at the gym for a while. And then now it's kind of just like private practices and stuff like that. That's really keeping our training isolated. We have sign-in sheets, knowing exactly who was here at what time, way more cleaning, way more sanitizing, way more just having to, I want to say, add all these extra steps to just our normal day lives that we were living before. Now you just got all these extra steps every day,
Yeah. Would you say at the pro level, you guys are not as affected as, maybe the amateurs or high school or college, because you guys already you're not at a point where it's like, I need to spar to get better, or I need to go to these clinics or these camps to get better. I kind of know who I am already. I just need to kind of work on this skill or that skill. I need to watch the tape of the last fight, where these younger kids really need that clinic time, the camp time, the one-on-one coaching time. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, right now, I feel for amateurs because, you know, A, these are the guys that aren't getting paid. B, you know, amateur shows are going to be the last shows to come back. Because right now the UFCs and, you know, Bellator, they're just making, you know, their reprimands for how Corona affected them. They're finally getting back in the green. They're finally, you know, putting on shows, but, you know, they only want to put on the professional shows because that's where the money's at. You know, but they like doing the amateur shows. Don't get me wrong. Those are going to be back very soon because the amateur shows actually generate just as much money and they don't have to pay the amateurs.
Oh yeah, I saw them announce on the last fight night where the summer show is coming back, the Dana White Summer Series.
I actually have a guy from our management team. He's one of the fighters managed by Dodge Sports, Anthony Ramiro. He'll be fighting on Dana White Contender Series.
Yeah, what has it meant for MMA to have the UFC say, hey, you know what, you know, fuck you guys, we're gonna find a way to put sport on TV and make these fights happen so that, you know, our people in our world see that we're still here for them.
Yeah, that's huge. Like for a fighter like myself, who I'm still kind of on the regional scene. You know, my record's only 2-1. I'm not like a huge prospect for the UFC yet. I know I'm definitely a contender, but it gives me hope. You know, it gives me that, like, no matter through a pandemic, a world, whatever, I know that the UFC is going to keep striving to be the best fight promotion in the world and put on the greatest fights in the world. And, you know, that's just motivation to other promotions because Bellator's doing the same thing. All these other promotions are trying to follow their steps and lead by example and show that, like, you know, we're here to compete. We're here to make money. We're here to give these fighters what they need. Because without fighting, you know, all these guys just are just regular people, you know?
Yeah, and it's good to see, man. So I know at the beginning, as a young kid down here in Florida, um, you know, what made you transition from, I know you were a football player and things like that. I was reading and you decided, you know, I want to become a wrestler, and you got on the mat, and how do you think you were able to go from just so quickly to becoming this new B or whatever they call it on the mat to becoming the state champion,
Yeah.
becoming an All-American, and doing the things that you did at a young age?
Well, first rule for all these wrestlers listening right now: wrestle in the off season. Telling you, wrestle in the off season. Even if you're a football player, even if you're a weightlifter, even if you're a, you know, whatever sport that you play outside of wrestling, I totally understand, but you can still wrestle on the off season. And that's one of the things that my coach instilled in me, you know, from day one. You know, he was always trying to get me back into wrestling after wrestling. He was always trying to get me to go to club, trying to get me to go to tournaments outside of it, you know, getting outside of your comfort zone. And I think that's one thing that really made me fall in love with wrestling, was the fact that everything was so far out of my comfort zone of just being easy. And I really enjoyed that. And I embraced, you know, the grind, as everybody calls it. You know, but the way that I found wrestling was because my wrestling coach was also my offensive line coach as a freshman. Coach Ron Jones. I don't know if you've ever heard of the name Ron Jones in Florida wrestling, but he's an old legend. You know, he was friends with Dan Gable, and he had Hawkeye mindset. He brought that to our wrestling room when I was a freshman and a sophomore, before he brought on Coach Caesar Charbonneau. And, you know, once I started working with Coach Caesar, you know, he was my main training partner and coach. You know what I mean? Drilling together, wrestling live together, picking up everything that I could from him, you know, because he was my mentor, my coach, my friend, and just, you know, grew me as an athlete, a wrestler, and a young man, you know.
That's awesome. And Googs is commenting. He's saying, man, this guy's mentally tough. So happy for his success. And then he put Ron Jones as the man. And then he said, what schools did you always like to whoop up on?
Well, Manatee was one of them for sure.
Googs.
We could never beat him at football, so I had to get him back for wrestling, but we didn't wrestle them very much. I definitely think Brandon was one of my favorites to beat. And then, no lie, I feel so bad about this, but I used to beat up this kid from Palmetto. We saw each other at all these tournaments all the time, and he was this heavyweight. And every time we'd get matched up, man, he'd just see me, man, and just shake his head. And just shake his head. But that's the fun thing about wrestling, and you wrestle each other like 5-6 times in a year. It's like, well, we kind of know what's going to happen, man.
Yeah, cool. What weight are you fighting at these days?
So I fight at welterweight right now, 170, 171, if it's not a title fight, always need that extra pound.
Yeah. Hey, whatever you can get, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what do you think of these guys that, I have a 14-year-old
who's
been wrestling a couple of years, and when he sees like these pros not make weight for a professional tournament, he's like, what an asshole. That's what he says, right? Like, you're a pro. What do you think about these guys that can't, you're at a level where you're a professional.
Yeah.
Why do you think some of these guys just can't make it? Are they fighting at a weight that they shouldn't be? Are they trying to get down too low?
It's tough, man. It's this way. You can look at it like this. We sign a contract days and days and days and days in advance, right? It tells you what weight you got to be. You know what weight you got to fight at, right? So when you show up and you're overweight like that, and they give you more time, and some of these guys just give up. So it's pretty sad to see that. I understand that a lot of these guys cut 20 plus pounds sometimes, but that's also all self-inflicted. So the way that I look at it is, if this guy doesn't make weight, you take his money. You make them pay for it. They pay that price, and they might not be able to fight either. So you get to take his money, and maybe you don't fight. Me, I'm always going to take the fight, even if the guy doesn't make weight. I've never missed weight, and I don't ever plan on missing weight ever. Just because that's a part of being a professional, showing up. You both put in so much work into that camp. MMA fighters know this. Like, leading up to a fight, you're never healthy. Going into a fight, you're never 100%. So you have to show up with this toughness and this mental fortitude, knowing I got to show up on weight if I want to get paid, and if I want to impress the boss. That being whoever the manager of the promotion is, or maybe UFC, Dana White, if he's watching this, I would never let you down.
If he's watching this, that's pretty dope. But imagine he'd like message right now, "Hey, what's up, guys?" I'd be like, "Yo." No, I'm not a fighter, so I don't understand. I understand because I have a kid that's doing it, but and I understand because I'm not an idiot, but I don't know. It'd be like a basketball player not showing up with his shoes, right? So,
yeah. And another way to look at it too is, a lot of these guys will want to fight in the lowest weight class that they can, right? For me, I chose the weight class that best suits my body. And some of these guys aren't being wise about that. They might be too big, trying to cut down to this weight class that, you need the best nutritionist in the world to help you get that weight down, instead of just fighting at what you weigh and going in there and trying to knock somebody out.
Yeah, and I had some young men on the other day. First of all, Goog said, man, he'd love to have you down in his room so you can roll with some of the guys. He's got some good studs for you to roll with.
Oh, heck yeah, man. I'll need some wrestling shoes, though. I don't. Here's a funny fact about me. I don't even own wrestling shoes anymore.
You're always in bare feet now, taped up.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Googs. You supply the wrestling shoes, Googs, and he'll show up. There you go. You got a deal. That's cool. What has now that you've been over the last how many years you've been in the MMA rooms? How important is wrestling to the sport?
Man, you wouldn't believe how many times I've had people say, "Man, dude, your wrestling just like makes the difference," right? Because the one thing I always liked about wrestling is it gave you a certain style of pressure, a certain style of aggressiveness, right? But here's the catch. Not all wrestlers are the same, and not all wrestlers that transition to MMA are the same. You have to have, I feel like, in my opinion, the wrestlers that make the best transition to MMA are those with that Iowa mindset, that even the Hawkeye, or not the Hawkeyes, but even like Penn State, like I seen Ed Ruth get into fighting, like just making the transition into a whole different sport. I see wrestling as such an attribute, and it's so helpful. But there's also like, pros and cons. But I think just like the pressure style of it has helped me a lot. And being like a funky wrestler in high school and college, like I feel like that funkiness transferred over to jiu-jitsu. So then I catch submissions kind of like I would like a scramble, and forcing the scramble, and it's really hard for a lot of guys to deal with. So I just I give all the thanks to wrestling for making me so aware of my body. Since a young age, I've had like that body awareness.
That's awesome. And Googs says, "I've got shoes and gear for you."
I'm on my way. Once we could put on some kind of camp.
Yeah, do it. You got a deal, Googs. I know I would ask what your decision, two questions, your decision to pursue MMA, and then what would you tell some young men out there right now that are maybe on that cusp of saying, okay, I still want to keep pursuing wrestling, or I want to make that transition to MMA. What do you advise those guys or girls?
Yeah, even girls. I have seen some tough chicks in this sport, man. Especially the ones that don't have very many training partners that are girls either, and they're just getting in there and scrapping with dudes. Those awesome chicks. I would say, for me, the first part of that question, MMA to me, it kind of saved my life. I was one of those wrestlers that didn't quite make it in college, just grades and everything, and just wasn't for me. It wasn't a fit. I still wanted to compete, man, and MMA gave me that. It gave me that opportunity to go out there and fight for, literally to fight for your life, and by that I don't mean like your physical life, which is actually true, but I mean you get to fight for a new life. You get to fight for an opportunity to make it to the big show, to make that money, right? But it's not an easy journey. It's financially very tough. When you choose the life of a fighter, you've got to be prepared to struggle and prepared to push yourself mentally further than you ever have, because wrestling will test you, but MMA will break you. And one of the things that I would say to these younger guys is, if you want to pursue wrestling, pursue it, get it to the farthest that you can. Go wrestle in college, go get an education, go do those things with it. And if you want to go straight into fighting and you don't want to have to worry about school, then yes, find a great MMA gym with good structure, good coaches, credible coaches, right? If you want to get into MMA, you need to make sure that you're going to be okay with some of these things that come with it, like headshots, CTE, brain damage. These are all real things that you have to think about when you say, well, I want to be a fighter. You've got to take all these things into account, because it is, one, a dangerous job, and two, it's not an easy job.
What did Mike Tyson say? Everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face.
Exactly. Because I tell you what, I thought it was all going to be rainbow and roses, because I thought I was a sick fighter coming off the streets, you know, the mean streets.
Yeah.
Thought I was cool.
Well, yeah. I mean, I heard Mike Bisbane said once, man, the toughest, some of the toughest sparrings he had been in is when you get a guy that's just coming in, that's not professionally trained, that's untraditional, that's just wailing their arms, you get caught, you know. But when you get somebody in there that's been trained properly, and these kids coming in thinking they can just street fight, and there's a guy in there that professionally understands how to move and tag and move, there's you know, it's not an alleyway where you can just throw bombs anymore. You're getting But what so talk about, well, who you're training for now, your gym, your training partners, your coaches. What's next for Tobias Baker?
So right now, I made the move recently, a couple months ago. I'm with American Top Team Portland. So now I just had my last fight in November. Was looking at some pretty big opportunities recently before the pandemic came. Now back on the back burner, you know. Now we're looking at trying to get a fight for Bellator, trying to maybe get on the Dana White Contender Series. You know, just looking for any big opportunity. A lot of the guys that I train with are former world champions, and just all around badasses. One of my main training partners is like Brent Primus, Primus, Bellator, former lightweight champ. Austin Vanderford, 10-0 Bellator, top 10 guy, you know, absolute savage. You know, I've seen Ed training for his fight coming up. Ed Herman, he's got a fight coming up in the UFC August, I believe it's 2nd.
He's a badass.
You know, yeah, absolutely. You know, I train under Fabiano Scherner now. One of the biggest legends in jiu-jitsu, you know. He's amazing coach, just very well-spoken guy, man of few words, but when he speaks, everybody listens kind of guy. You know, I work
on the Pacific Northwest, right?
Right, exactly.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done. My bad.
Oh, you're fine. I was going to just mention one more coach, Warren Brooks. You know, he's another amazing guy that's taught me a lot about leg locks.
Nice.
You know, and that's one of those things that you just seen recently in UFC. Like, you know, it's been a while since we've seen a heel hook like that happen in a main event. So it just makes me happy, because that's, you know, something that I really enjoy is leg locks. So, but yeah, just amazing coaching staff, you know, amazing guys over here at American Top Team Portland, doing big things.
Yeah, how about that? Was it a knee lock or something that girl, she sat on top of her chest, pulled her knee?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I've never seen nothing like that. Usually it's on the ground, right?
Yeah. That's one of my favorite moves. And it's kind of funny because I hit like a variation of that in practice the other day. So I was like, oh, she stole my move.
Yeah. Well, no, the Pacific Northwest, man, don't sleep on them up there. I just had a young lady on that's in college in Illinois. She's a national champ, 2-time Washington State champ. And she said, you'd be surprised, man. My bracket in high school had like 3 All-Americans, 3 Olympic hopefuls. She said, we're don't sleep on us up in that corner there, right? She said she lives in a small town, 250 people in this town, and it's right on the border of Canada.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. She said she'd go into some Canadian clubs, wrestling clubs up there, and get to roll with them. So that was awesome. Yeah. Hey, so what has it meant to get signed by Dodge Sports, and how big have they been for you to be able to get you to your next level?
Man, Dodge Sports is my family. I love those guys. I love Matt Dodge and Haley. They have done so much for me. Joey Torres, like him and Matt together are just an awesome duo for helping our guys out. They found me when I was 2-0, right before my last pro fight. Basically weren't trying to sell me on anything other than, hey man, we want to help you get to the top, and we're in this for the long haul. We're only going to sign a year contract right now because it doesn't matter. Like, we want to just keep working year by year, getting there and working together as a team, a unit, promoting me across many social platforms, and getting my name out there and getting us awesome partnerships. Like, for a smaller management company, we work with some of the biggest names in MMA, because Matt hustles. Matt is one of those guys that works for his guys. A lot of managers have these big egos and they want to take a lot of your money and do a lot of nothing for you. And then sometimes not even talk to you if you don't have a fight coming up, No, man, this guy has been awesome. He invited me down to Miami when I visited back in around Christmas time. I got to meet his fiance. She's a wonderful woman. She does a lot for the fighters as well. Down there in Miami, they have some real estate and everything that they work in, and they're just all around. It's been great for my first management experience to go as well as it is now, because I don't see myself ever signing with anyone else, and really, gives me, I feel like, a competitive edge as it does in getting into the UFC and stuff like that, because Matt has made some great connections, Bellator and UFC and Sean Shelby and those guys, like, because he's already got a fighter in the UFC and stuff like that. So definitely have very high hopes for our future together.
Yeah, it's awesome. I see you got a Manscaped shirt on. We always see them all over the octagons and everything. So I love that. Your balls will thank you.
Yeah, Ryan Dore. Yeah, he's a good guy, man. He's the VP. I remember I was talking to him. They sent me over like a nice package for the last fight, and we're on the shorts and everything. So it was a really cool experience.
Yeah. Hey, and I know I hear the name Shelby. I mean, they had a kid on the last fight that was some kid that, like, Shelby called up. Somebody up to Dana White or something and said, "Hey, show Shelby this kid," or something out of nowhere, and the guy ended up knocking the dude out or something. So,
oh yeah, it always goes that way.
It's good, man. You got people looking at you. Yeah, I can't wait to see you on that Contender Series or in the octagon somewhere. You've got another fan here with me.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much.
I'm excited. I look forward to maybe one day meeting you when you come back home. I know it's got to be tough. I hear that I've never been to Oregon, but I hear when you go there, it's hard to leave.
Yeah, it is, man. It is.
I heard it's a great place. Well, I got my 10 questions for you. You ready?
Yep.
All right. So, joint locks or punches?
Punches.
Portland or Sarasota?
Portland.
Yeah, it's hard with Sarasota. Other Florida towns, I could see you going at Portland, but Sarasota's a nice place.
It's tough, man.
Chokeholds or elbows?
Elbows.
Fried chicken or Vietnamese wings?
Ooh, fried chicken all day.
Strikes or kicks?
Kicks.
Smoked oysters or raw oysters?
Raw oysters every time.
Grappling or knees?
Oh, how you gonna do that to me? Knees.
Well, I read that you're doing jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, so I went and pulled up their techniques. But
yeah.
But the Muay Thai techniques I couldn't pronounce in like kabakus or shobokus or whatever the hell. So I was like,
Yeah, that's
translate.
like the crew would say, and you'd just be like, that means knee, right?
Yeah. So I was like, I'll just write it in English.
Right.
Dungeness crab or grilled fish?
Oh, it's gonna have to be, well, you say grilled fish, man. What are we talking? Grouper, king mackerel? What do we?
I don't know. They said in Portland. They said in Portland, one of the big famous dishes is grilled fish. So I don't know. I don't know what the hell they grill up there, but
Nothing special, man. I'd say crab, bro. Crab all
yeah,
day.
the Dungeness looks pretty fire.
Yeah.
All right, takedowns or foot thrust?
Oh, definitely takedowns.
Nice. And then dumplings or the pho?
Oh, pho all day.
I looks like the best pho in the world is up in the Northwest there.
Oh man, there's a pho place like every other corner.
Yeah, and I was reading stuff as I was trying to research kind of where you are and stuff for my questions. I was reading that they got like these dope like Korean and Vietnamese little like food trucks just like on the corners and stuff where you walk up and you can get some good food. Oh man, I'm hungry. I want to go eat now.
No, seriously though, when I tell you this, I've been a lot of places in the country, and like I don't know what it is about Oregon, but they have so many food trucks. It's inhumane. It is like I don't have enough money to spend at all these places. Like
Yeah,
there's so many.
it looks like man, you could walk down the street and get, and then just you know, being a kid that I'm in Orlando now, but growing up, I grew up in South Florida, and in South Florida, we really had a very diverse community, right?
Yeah.
As far as like Hispanics and Haitians and things like that, right? And then, you know, South Americans, but you go to the Northwest, it looks like you guys, Thai, Korean, Vietnamese, all that.
Yep.
Not that I'm married to a Hispanic girl, mom and dad cook good. I love Spanish food, but that you can't compete with that Asian food, man. That shit is good.
Oh. Hey, I'll tell you what though. I've been visiting this Argentinian food cart, right?
Ooh.
They're from Argentina, and they make this little pastry called canonitas. Yeah, it's canonitas, and it's basically a cannoli, right? It's like a flaky cannoli filled with caramel cream.
Oh, and I got to imagine they're doing like the skirt steak with that green chimichurri.
Oh, it's no joke. It's no joke.
Man.
My weight just went up 5 pounds talking about it.
Oh man, I'm on a plane to Oregon.
Yeah.
I had Gray Maynard on like a month ago or something down in Vegas. And
Yeah.
it was cool talking to him, and I talked to John Fitch too, and then of course now you. But to hear the mindset of the MMA guy is pretty awesome. You know, obviously Gray and Fitch have been to where you want to get to, right? But to hear them still have that mindset of like, I'm ready to go tomorrow, right?
Yeah, my coaches used to train with Gray.
Yeah, and
Gray was an old Team Quest guy.
Yeah, and he was saying that Fitch is one of like the strongest dudes he's ever rolled with.
Oh, jeez.
I just like Fitch's Instagram. He's always putting all these hot chicks on there with like
Yeah.
stuff. I don't know where he finds them all. Not that I respect all women, hot ladies with their bikinis on. He puts on his Instagram.
He's an entertainer. He's an entertainer.
He's an entertainer. So all right, well, man, this was dope. This was great. I'm sorry. I'm really for women and for women wrestling. So I'm sorry if I use that bad term, chicks, but but they're all badasses. I've got I just created a little playlist for like the women on the mat that I've been interviewing. So I've got like 19 or 20 of them so far. So
what's your opinion on the pad down? On the pad?
Well, first of all, I've had obviously it's America, so everyone has their right to their opinion. So he definitely speaks his, right? But but I feel like right now for the sport of wrestling. Women are really at the forefront, and they're doing big things, and they're helping keep the sport alive. They're bringing it back into schools, into colleges, into high school programs. They're being sanctioned. They're being talked about. People want to see them fight. People want to see them wrestle. And not for nothing, but they're a lot smarter than us dudes. So
Yeah.
let's get them, let's get them to where they belong. I mean, it's not 1920 anymore, right? So,
Right.
They don't, I think they have a point. I mean, they should be paid equally. They should get equal opportunities. I mean, look what you were saying in your sport. How many girls you see that would walk in and whoop these dudes' asses?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think give them their opportunity. I think there had to be more to the story to just let him go like that. But I've had my own experience. I've had my own experience with him, trying to get him on my show, and he kind of blew me off a few times. So.
Oh yeah, no, I know how that goes, man.
Yeah. So I have, but people I talk to say that underneath that hard shell, that he's apparently a really, really good dude, and they say that this is all an act for entertainment. So
of course,
I hope so, I hope a good coach can get their arms around him and get him corralled in, because I know when he gets to your sport, you better back up. Guys like the Diaz brothers and McGregor and those guys that talk shit, they back it up. Like,
yep.
Exactly. I don't want to, those guys will fight you in an alleyway, not that he wouldn't, but
I'd say I'd fight
right? Yeah, I mean, what do you think of all that?
I mean, I like Pat Downey because since Pat Downey came into the limelight, since the trials, like the World Team trials and everything, I've seen nothing but growth in today's wrestling, and I think he's done a lot of good things by just making noise for the being exciting, being that guy that is going to come up to you and talk shit to your face, and you want to go outside? Huh? That's one of my favorite little clips, man. But it sucks.
When he called out, like he told like Hildebrandt said something to him on Facebook, and he's like, "I'll whoop your ass," and I don't know if she's the one you want to be calling out, but maybe there's some out there, but I don't know if Sarah Hildebrandt is one of them. Right. She's a bad, right? But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you got to make noise to get seen, and that's it. All right, so I got it. Tobias Baker versus Pat Downey in the octagon.
Oh yeah.
How would that go?
I'm staying on my feet.
Yeah, I'm staying on my feet. Yep. That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, I agree with you. You got to make some noise, but right now, I just think we should be pushing women forward, not backwards, and we should be holding them up. I think with Title IX and with things that are happening in the colleges, I think the way to keep our men in wrestling is to have our women in wrestling, and I mean, they got wrestling back into the Olympics. They got they're doing really good things. They're speaking loudly, and most women aren't afraid to speak their mind and tell you what they feel. And
not in today's world, that's for sure.
And get in front of the forefront. So, so to have some big, strong women that can talk it and back it up and are willing to take it forward, I think it's good. But yeah, to have a guy like Downey in our sport that's talking a little shit, I think that maybe get somebody in there to help him out a little bit with the
yeah, we gotta shave some of the rough edges off, sand it down a little.
Yeah, get him to where he knows how to get to that line but not put his toe over it, but push.
Of course, we all struggle with that. Because
you don't want to lose. I mean, you can really cost yourself all your sponsorships and all So you want to be able to push it to a limit where, you know, guys like Nike and those guys are going, okay, we can still hang on to him. We like that he's talking and getting his name out there. But once you get into that sexism, racism, fat, whatever the isms,
it's just everything falls apart when you get political. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I try. Don't talk politics, race, or your favorite sports team, and you're safe.
Hey, don't you talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers like that, man.
Yeah, well, I think somebody posted at the Rays yesterday, said they couldn't sell out their stadium because of Corona, and somebody posted, "What? You weren't selling out your stadium anyway?" You guys sold it out in years, but
yeah, the truth, man.
Hey, well, listen, man, keep kicking life's ass. I always say that, and super awesome to talk to you. I'm so happy you responded and came on. You know, some people do, some people don't, and there's nights I stay up late trying to just private message people. And
I appreciate you put in a lot of hard work for this, man.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been cool for me. Like I tell people, just seeing fighting and wrestling and the sport through different eyes now, and the opportunities that I've had just from having the show are awesome. Maybe one day a sponsor will come. Maybe somebody will want to jump on board. As of right now, I'm happy doing what I'm doing for free.
Awesome.
So you keep it real, man. And don't forget to manscape your balls will thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, brother. You take it easy.
Peace, man.
See you, man.